Here's how to understand attachment style of you and your ex for the purpose of getting them back in a nutshell in this video. Hey, I'm Coach Benny, and I help people get their exes back. And when it comes to attachment style, everybody understands that there's this spectrum of both anxious and avoidant, right? You kind of know between you and your ex who is chasing who and who's the one pulling away, right? But anxious and avoidant are not attachment styles, okay? It's just a spectrum of behavior. There's actually 4 attachment styles specifically that fall within this spectrum. And you should know your ex's attachment style so you can figure out how long should you give them in no contact, how to interact with them once you guys come back together, etc. And also learn your own attachment style so that way you don't, continue to act insecure in the relationship, so that way you don't mess it up further. Now, if you had 2 emotionally available parents and you can handle conflict in the sense that you can give space when it's needed, but you still address the issues and you make sure the issues get addressed, but you're not frantically getting all upset and everything, and it's not like you can't give space temporarily, that's a good secure behavior. You can tell by your the way that you act in conflict. But if you just want conflict to go away as soon as possible, you're either anxious or a dismissive avoidant. The anxious person just wants it to go away as quick as possible because they're so scared to lose the other person because they have an abandonment wound. So they'll just roll over, give in, and sort of just placate the other person because they just don't want to experience abandonment. Now, the dismissive avoidant is going to want conflict to end as soon as possible. They're probably going to get kind of defensive first when you're telling them, your needs or your boundaries or whatever, because they have a defectiveness wound. And so for them, they just don't want to hear about the reasons why they're doing wrong stuff because they already believe that they're messed up. So they want the conflict to go away, but mainly because they don't want to feel like shit. And secondly, they just don't have the energy for it. Dismissive avoidants a lot of times get physically tired out by conflict because they didn't grow up with that amount of emotional attention from their parents, and they probably didn't necessarily get into too many arguments with their parents. They were emotionally neglected. Now, if you're the really combative type in conflict, you're very likely to be a fearful avoidant. The fearful avoidant is somebody that's been through abuse or trauma in the past, maybe ex is cheating, something, okay? And it scarred you, and now you have a betrayal wound. And, from that place, you're seeking safety through conflict. So you're going to try to get to the bottom of things. You have a hard time dropping arguments. You can't give space in conflict because you need to figure it out right away. And in order to do so, especially if your partner's pulling away, you're going to get upset. You might say some mean shit. You might get a little spicy and out of control because you are, trying to feel seen, heard, and understood, or you're trying to get understood, and you want to get to the bottom of that conflict to feel safe. So along the spectrum, of insecure attachment styles, you've got the anxious preoccupied is all the way over to the anxious end. You've got the fearful avoidant, which is in the middle. They can be anxious, but they can also be avoidant. And then you have the dismissive avoidant all the way at the avoidant end of the spectrum. All 3 have their own core wounds, which are driving insecure behavior in the relationship. And there is no incompatible combination of any 2 attachment styles, okay? If you have both parties that are insecure, yes, you're both going to trigger each other in different ways depending on what combination that you have. If at least one person's secure, that's good because that's 50% less insecurity that's being infused into the relationship. But any 2 people, regardless of their attachment style, can work on things and come together. And if you want my help getting your ex back, click into my profile, click this link, set up a call with me. We're going to talk. I'm going to figure out both of your attachment styles. We're going to talk about how to reattract them, and I'll give you a step-by-step plan to make that happen.